All right, Vanessa, I want you to know that you are co-host in case I get disconnected. And otherwise, I believe we are good to go. Everyone, I'm Nick Curley, president of the Highlandtown Community Association, and I thank you for joining us tonight for January's HCA general meeting. Hey there, Mark Parker. Hey, Janine. All right, so thanks for joining us after the break we took for December. A few notes about tonight's agenda. We're going to lead tonight with a brief and admittedly performative election. The rules we set in place closed nominations for board and presidential nominees last Friday at 5 p.m. and no changes came in before that deadline and since we last discussed the matter. So in a moment, I'm going to launch a poll and ask anyone who is eligible, who is a member who has attended meetings and lives in the neighborhood, to vote their support for Brian Sweeney's return to the president role. And we have two nominations for board members. We've got Kat Klosek, who's with us tonight and has made some great contributions over the last year as far as participation and traffic calming in the neighborhood is concerned. She's been leading all sorts of great initiatives. And then we've also got Ann Sawyer, who's been nominated by BJ on our board to join the board as well. So if Anne is interested in accepting that nomination, we will vote to support her in that role tonight. Hey, Anne, you want to weigh in and let me know if you want us to go ahead and vote on that tonight?
Yes, I accept the nomination.
Outstanding. And Kat's off camera, but she's with us in spirit, and we're going to vote on that any second now. All right, so is everyone ready for some voting, and then we'll get into the rest of the meeting? All right, let's do it. Okay, so I'm going to launch that poll. Again, so with no opposition, I invite all of our members present to vote their support for Brian Sweeney, Kat Klosek, and also Ann Sawyer. If you want to be sassy and click the no opposition one instead, you can, but I'll find out who you were later and tell them. We're going to leave that up for just a few more seconds. Invite anyone to express their support if they're interested. Got all sorts of voting going on. Fantastic. All right. Anyone else want to vote before I close this out? All right, and we're going to end our voting there. And as you can see, we have unanimous support for Brian and his return to the presidency and for Kat and Ann Sawyer to join our board. So congratulations, everyone. Outstanding. Yay, thanks, Natalie. All right, so moving on with the agenda for tonight's meeting, I'd like to invite a couple of board members to make updates and announcements, and then we will go to comments from the floor. I will tell you all that we have no invited guests tonight, and we will go from there. So congratulations, Kat, congratulations, Anne, welcome to the board, and congratulations, Brian, for your return to the presidency. All right, would you like to say anything, Brian, before we move into updates?
Thanks for this vote of confidence. It's been a tough, grueling race. But you know, now that I'm here, back down to business. So thanks, everyone.
We love you, Brian. You're the best. All right, let's go to Vanessa first with updates.
Sure. Thanks, Nick. Just an update on cafe lights. There is still money left, and you can get the application on the Highlandtown website, which is highlandtown.com. So please apply because there is still funding left for cafe lights.
Awesome. Thanks, Vanessa. Brian, you want to dive in with updates about traffic calming, BGE, et cetera?
Well, I'll start with the BGE grant that I applied for the other day because it is earmarked to supplement the existing Cafe Light Fund. Arch McGowan, who is a security guy in the Patterson Park Neighborhood Association, reached out to me last week and notified me of a BGE grant that is referred to as something like first responders or something, which is not quite in that area, but his intention was to apply for a specific installation on a block of Noble Street, just west of Highland Avenue, and submit a request for funds to support that. And he suggested that we do something similar. What I did was I put in for, there was a $2,000 option and a $10,000 option. And I put in for the two because I thought, you know, $10,000 is a lot of money when you're supposed to report back in 8 months. And I just thought we don't, you know, we want to spend that money before we have to make the report. So the way I put it in was for $2,000, and for the budget, I just said each installation that the HCA helps to support. In other words, the residents have to support part of it, and they can apply for funds from the HCA. Each installation gets $400 maximum towards their installation, and a $2,000 grant would support 5 of those installations. I forget when the award notice will be made, but I think we're a good candidate for it. So I suspect we'll be adding $2,000 to that fund in the not too distant future. So if anyone has anyone on their block who is interested in cafe lights, or, you know, knows of anyone at all, please direct them to the HCA website, and I have lots of information that can help them to organize their block and kind of track things and make it easy. It can be a little daunting if you don't start out knowing what you're doing, you know, and I've done this block and since helped coach a few other people. So we have the resources to do a lot more lighting for anybody who wants to do it, or, you know, I mean, limited funds, but at the same time, we can be a big help with that. So that's the first update. Traffic related. Last year, I had met with somebody from DOT and Council Representative McCrae, who manages the 2nd District, and which is, you know, Highlandtown east of Conkling Street, to discuss some traffic calming on Grundy Street, particularly the intersection of Grundy and Lombard, which is somewhat problematic. And then Grundy is a, you know, a wide, dark, fast street, and people race down there. And our request was to, or our suggestion to DOT at the time anyway, was to take the left side of the street and make it reverse angle parking, which would narrow the traveled way and theoretically slow cars, and then do some other things. And they're, you know, they're in love with flex posts, so they're gonna the plan is to do flex posts at the intersection of Lombard and Grundy. They have expanded on what we asked for, and we'll put some posts in the median along with the existing pedestrian crossing sign, and create what the traffic engineers refer to as a pedestrian refuge. In other words, a place that somebody can actually stand between the lanes of travel. I'm not looking forward to stand between the flex posts pedestrian refuge, but, you know, it's probably better than nothing. And if the road has to taper out from the middle, it should slow traffic even more. So that's a good thing. I thought the installation had to be at least 40 feet wide, and my memory was we were 2 feet short the width of the street to do what we wanted to do. But the fellow from DOT last year was not put off by that at all. He seems to still be on board with it. It turns out I was wrong about the 40 feet. It's actually 38 feet, and the actual width is 36 feet. So we're still 2 feet short. And I actually received a letter from DOT that said we had been denied because we didn't meet the standards, and they referenced the 38-foot width. And I went out the next day and measured it, and sure enough, we're 2 feet short. And I emailed the person who's been communicating with me from DOT, and I said, hey, you know, it sounded like everything was moving forward, and now suddenly it's not. What gives? And he said not to worry about it. So I will continue to worry about it until it's done. But it does seem like it's moving forward. But there are, at least that legitimate reason that they could say no. So, we'll see what happens. But if it goes through, it'll slow traffic on Grundy Street. It'll allow a lot of parking in that area, that northeast corner of the neighborhood where residents have been complaining for a long, long time that they don't have parking spaces at night because people that patronize the bars on Lombard Street park in their streets and, make things a mess for them. So it'll add parking, calm traffic, and looking forward to that with crossed fingers. So we'll see. Any questions or comments on that before I move on? Okay. Last and not least, the warehouse building at the corner of Grundy and Goff Street. This is the building where 2 years ago, or more than 2 years ago, they presented to us and they said that they wanted the community association support to request for a liquor license at that site. It is within X number of feet of a school, which should deny the license. However, 2 years or over 2 years ago, we opted to support the liquor license at that location because the tenant at that time was believed to be De Pasquale's, and a number of advantages for having De Pasquale's there. Obviously, it would generate a lot of foot traffic and bring some real activity to that side of the neighborhood. And also, as far as a liquor license down there goes, De Pasquale's is not a nighttime kind of a business. So, and it's also not a place that people really go to drink. They, might have a glass of wine with their dinner, but it's not really a bar. So anyway, De Pasquale's made their move to Canton instead of staying in the neighborhood. And the owners of that building have secured a deal with Ovenbird Bakery, which is in Little Italy. And they plan to use the facility as a bakery for distributing citywide, and they want to be able to have a small cafe. And like De Pasquale's, they want to be able to serve wine in there. Their business model is somewhat the same in that it's not really a bar. It's a place you can go and you can have a sandwich and a baked good and a glass of wine if you want, but it's not really a bar. So we did rewrite the letter that we started 2 years ago, just to show that essentially it's the same letter with that's updated with a new date. I did put in there, because it's somebody that we don't know, a company, a business coming in there that we don't have an actual relationship like we did with De Pasquale's. I put in there that they have agreed to sign an MOU with the neighborhood, and I kind of touched on a couple of the bullet points that go in our standard MOU, and said that, with that qualification, we would be happy to support it the same as we did for De Pasquale's. And just so everybody knows, the MOU possibility was offered to us by Doug Kaufman, who's the commercial realtor handling that. And he said, please, if you can re-up this letter for us, it'd be great. And we would love to sign an MOU with you. So they've been, out in front of this and responsible actors all along. So that's what was done there. And I think that's all I've got.
Outstanding. Thanks a lot, Brian. One thing I was going to mention.
Natalie commented two-way on Goff. There are no changes on Goff Street at all with that. It's all on Grundy, and Grundy would remain one-way southbound all the way to Bank Street. It's two ways in the block next to Walgreens. However, the angle parking would stop at Goff Street. It would not continue at the block between Goff and Bank, and that is at the request of the management of the warehouse building where Ovenbird is going. And that is simply because they don't know exactly who all their tenants are going to be. And there is some truck traffic associated with it, loading and unloading delivery trucks and that kind of thing. And they would prefer not to have it. Our main intention with that whole thing was really traffic calming, not the additional parking spaces. So that wasn't a deal breaker at all for us. So that's what I got.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for all that great information. One other update we talked about really briefly is some have noted that the cop walk has been canceled for the last 2 weeks running, and that's a rarity. So I just wanted to mention that one of those cancellations was due to a police funeral that pulled in all of Southeastern District's resources, and the other was just weather and staffing related. So we expect them to return as soon as tomorrow. And we'll keep everyone posted via social media if that changes for any reason that we don't yet know about. Excellent. Moving on for updates, I'd like to ask Liz, our new treasurer, if she would be willing to provide us with a financial update, and especially maybe some long considered words of wisdom or maybe an instructive fable.
Thank you, Nick. So our bank account currently has $15,093.99. I was also asked to report that it was a record low in community association spends in 2021, but I should mention as well, it was a record low in money that we were able to intake in 2021. So we are looking to improve that in 2022, but also we do have money if anybody would like to spend some. Words of wisdom.
Outstanding. Thank you for those words of wisdom and the great financial information. I think I need to take this opportunity to thank Mike Dorsey for his contributions over the years as treasurer. Mike has recently moved out of the neighborhood conclusively, which results in Liz coming into the role as treasurer. So Mike, thanks for your contribution, and we look forward to your continued participation as an associate member of the organization. And Liz, we look forward to your contribution as treasurer. Thank you so much for stepping up. All right, at this time, I'd like to invite anyone else on the board, including our newly elected members, if they would like to offer any comments or updates to the group.
Hey, this is Kat. I can just give a brief update. Hold on pedestrian safety stuff here. Hi. So I think I mentioned after our pedestrian safety walk that kind of a longer term goal was working with Graham Corlier. I'm mispronouncing his last name, but he has done a lot of art in the right of way around the city, most recently I think in like Lake Montebello. Anyway, so Brian and I have been in touch with him, and he sent us an estimate for what art in the right of way might look like on Eastern and Elwood. So I think it was 2 different estimates depending on if DOT installs bump outs and repaints the crosswalk. So it was a pretty thorough estimate, and basically, obviously, you know, it would cost more if the city. It would be like $25,000 if DOT doesn't do the bump outs, and like $15,000 if they do. But I also heard from Claire in Councilman Cohen's office that I think these work orders are on pause during the winter. So anyway, what I think we're waiting for is the Southeast CDC spruce up grant application, if that's funded, if the Bernie funding has come through, for that to open, and then planning on kind of working through with HCA to apply for a project. And obviously there'll be a lot of community input as part of that as well. But just because we've talked about that in the past, I just wanted to give that update. And I think, we can share sort of Graham's estimate and proposal and everything if folks are interested. Anyway, I think that is what I have to share, and I will stop there. And Brian, I don't know if you have anything to add or not.
No, I don't have much to add for that, except that, for obvious reasons, we would prefer that the city put it in their budget for the year to do the flex posts and the any striping changes that have to be done, which is what we asked for. And when they do, like, it would be a flex post installation there as well, along with the striping that goes with it. And what that provides for Graham, the Coriel, name's hard to pronounce if you don't have it spelled out right in front of you. he would use the lines that are put down by the city as, kind of the template for him to work with. So that's kind of the goal. And, remains to be seen when it comes. But it is a high profile spot in the neighborhood, and we've got the support of our city council and everybody else. I really think it's going to go through. It just needs to be some more talking done. That's all.
Outstanding. Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Brian. Ann Sawyer, anything you'd like to add?
Not really. Thank you on electing me. I actually just had a question. I haven't heard anything recently about the Gallery Church apartment building. Just wondered if anybody had an update.
Sure, I'd love to address that, but I don't have any new information to work with. What I can tell the group is that Zeke Cohen's office sent a message out about 10 days ago, as I recall, indicating that the aggregate feedback from the community, including the letter of support issued by HCA and the letter of support issued by Canton Community Association, resulted in his office supporting the addition of the rezoning issue to the zoning department's agenda. So it is still an open item, and there will be public hearings and additional periods where folks who don't support that project can have the opportunity to be heard. But the bar for community support was passed as far as Zeke's office supporting a referendum on the zoning through the lens of the possibility that the initial zoning as residential was a mistake during the last comprehensive rezoning exercise. And if anyone present would like to add anything or comment, they're welcome to at this time.
Is there in Councilperson Cohen's communication, is there an upcoming zoning hearing date for that, or is it just generally announcing their support?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, there is not a date yet, but I'm not certain to tell you the truth, Mark. Yeah, when we get that information, we will post it to social media, and we'll be glad to discuss it in future meetings, I'm sure. Anyone else have anything they'd like to add regarding Gallery Church rezoning? Okay. Well, at this time, I'd like to open it up to the floor. Does anyone have any issues they'd like to bring to the floor for the good of the order?
Just following up on Kat and Brian's conversation around traffic stuff. The northeast corner of Pratt and Highland. So Pratt and Highland is one of the ones, along with Golf and Highland, that got the flex posts up a while ago and kind of limited parking and better pedestrian safety, et cetera, et cetera. There was a BGE project, I want to say, like more than a year ago, that took out all those flex posts. Half of them were already knocked down just by drivers knocking them down and them not being replaced by a DOT. Clearly I could call this in and call 311. I haven't. I don't know if Brian or Kat cares to draw attention to it, but it's also resulting in a bunch of neighbors getting parking tickets because without the flex post there, people aren't really paying attention to parking signs, no parking signs. And so it's looking like a space. And then, I mean, I don't think any of us want to see neighbors get tickets for that. Plus it's dangerous for people walking their dogs as the Curleys do on a daily basis. And they know exactly kind of the corner I'm talking about. So anyway, I can certainly call it in. I'm not trying to pass the buck there, but didn't know if somebody else had an inner line to getting flex posts replaced and street relined.
Well, towards that end, I mean, if you would report it by 311 and then shoot me an email with the 311 report number and some of the details like the corner that it's on. I mean, I drive by it occasionally, but I guess I haven't been paying that much attention to the condition of the post, but I will follow it up with a 311 report of my own and then submit a request via DOT with those two report numbers on it. Just say, hey, can you get on this for all the reasons that you just mentioned? So yeah, if you start it with the 311 report, I'll finish it.
And this is Kat. If one of you wouldn't mind copying me, we're kind of keeping like a spreadsheet with like a running list of these requests. So I'm happy to add it to that spreadsheet. If you just copy me on the email, I'll grab the info. Thank you, Mark.
Sure thing, Kat. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Kat.
Outstanding. Thanks, everyone. Oh, thanks, Natalie. All right, going back to the floor. Anyone else with updates or news or announcements for the good of the order?
This is Kat again. I'll just mention that Brian and I also have been in touch with about connecting DOT. This is back to Gallery Church, connecting DOT with the developer. And this is new, but I also, for everybody, I also followed up with Zeke's office on that specifically. And I think they're going to make that, once I found out that his office was formally like whatever, moving forward with the process. So I think he is going to move forward with seeing if the development agreement can be leveraged for pedestrian safety improvements as well. So, you know, we'll see. Just on Gallery Church, that's just, and pedestrian safety, bringing those things together. That's all.
Outstanding. All right, gang. So we have no invited guests this evening and no presentations or anything of that nature. So I'm going to ask everyone in attendance if there's anything they'd like to talk about or put on the floor. And if there is nothing, we will go ahead and conclude this meeting. So if you have anything you'd like to add, please let us know now.
Hey, Nick, a few months ago, we heard from the owners of the storage unit thing off of Highland Ave. Have we heard it? They asked us for something. We said, hey, give us some time. We'll think about it. Have we heard anything?
They've asked us for nothing.
Okay, cool.
Anyone else? All right, everyone. Well, please allow me to close by thanking you for the sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Before we go, since we are done, I am just going to say thanks for the past 2 years and everything that you've done, Nick. And, you know, for those who don't know, Nick served as vice president for 8 years, 10 years.
10? I think it was 10. Yeah.
I think it was 10. You know, so he, you know, Nick actually is one of the first people that I got to know and got involved with, you know, as far as community things went, because I was coming to the cop walks and that kind of thing. And frankly, the reason I started going to the cop walks was largely social. I just was new-ish to the neighborhood and I wanted to go out and meet people, you know. So I met Nick, and he kind of, he and Kevin Bernhard, who was president before I was, kind of, you know, brought me into the fold and all of that. So, you know, Nick, I owe you a big debt of appreciation, and thanks for the past 2 years. And I know you're going to be a resource moving forward. So thanks for everything.
It's my pleasure. I look forward to it. And please allow me to thank Vanessa for being an outstanding vice president and keeping the wheels turning and doing great work to bring in grant money and drive our processes forward. So you guys have all been great. It's been a pleasure working with you and representing what I hope are the best interests of the neighborhood. And I look forward to contributing moving forward. So thank you all. And with that, I hope you all have a good night. We'll end the meeting now.